got a fun question to start off with here for you. What is more important as a Christian? Believing the right things or behaving in a loving manner? Okay, I will admit it, maybe my idea of a fun question is the kind of thing that starts fights on social media at 10 in the morning. And honestly, that kind of question has been tearing apart churches for centuries. So it is not something that I think we are going to resolve here today once and for all, but I think that we can get to a biblical answer. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, I'm Colin, the resident nerd and Bible scholar here at the Bible Uncut and Unfiltered. I think if you were to ask most Christians what is central to Christianity, what is most important, they would say love. It is about love. But then when you actually watch what they fight over, what they exclude people over, what keeps them up at night, you discover that many, especially those in fundamentalist and evangelical circles, don't actually believe that love is the most important part of Christianity. For many, whether or not they would put it this way, orthodox belief trumps love every single time. If we are honest about what we see in Christian culture, people get kicked out of churches for asking questions about doctrine, but rarely for being unloving. We have entire denominations splitting over theological minutia while ignoring members who gossip, judge, or show no compassion to their neighbors. Many Christians, and I'm talking sincere, well-meaning, Bible-believing, God-loving people, have convinced themselves that the most important thing is having the right beliefs about God. And, of course, they are the ones who are completely right in what those beliefs are. It's always the other guys who are wrong, right? Well, here's the thing. There is a passage of Scripture that I guarantee you have heard before that completely dismantles this priority system. If you have ever been to a wedding, and I mean probably any wedding, like it does not even need to be a Christian wedding half the time, you have likely heard something from 1 Corinthians 13. I have even heard it in movie weddings before. It's the love passage, or if you like the old King James, the charity passage. Charity suffers long and is kind, envies not, vaunts not itself up, right? Love is patient, love is kind, you know the drill. Now, it is not originally meant to be a wedding passage, but that's another topic for another day. It is Paul's beautiful treatise on love. And here is the verse that should revolutionize how we think about Christian priorities. It is 1 Corinthians 13, verse 13. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. Let that sink in for a minute. Faith, believing the right things about God. Hope, trusting that things will get better, whether in this life or the next. And love, selflessly setting aside your own demands and preferences for the well-being of others. And Paul, writing under divine inspiration in your scriptures, says that the greatest of those three things is love. Now, I will admit up front, this is not some false trichotomy that I'm trying to set up here where you just have to pick one of them. We do not have to choose between being loving, hopeful, or faith-filled. They are not competing virtues. They work together beautifully. That is the point. But here's what this passage is saying to all the Christians who want to argue endlessly about whether God's justice or love is his primary characteristic, who split churches over predestination and free will, who exclude people for asking honest questions about doctrine. Set aside all of that and prioritize love. Those other things, theology, doctrine, systematic understandings of God, they do matter. I am not trying to say that we should throw them out. But according to our own scriptures, from the pen of St. Paul himself, under divine inspiration, love is the final filter through which we should judge everything that we are doing. And I don't mean the kind of love where we say, I get to be judgmental and call it loving because it's more loving to be truthful. No, that is not what Paul is talking about here. He says to choose love. You don't get to wrap judgment in a different label and call it love instead. So here's my challenge. The next time you find yourself in some heated theological debate, which for some of you will be more often than others, the next time you are tempted to write off someone because they don't check all of your doctrinal boxes, or the next time you're wondering whether it's more important to prove a point or to let it go and be kind, remember Paul's hierarchy here. Love isn't just one option among many Christian virtues. According to Scripture itself, love is the greatest. It is the lens through which we should be evaluating everything else. It is the characteristic that more than any systematic theology, more than any perfectly articulated statement of faith on your church's website, love is what marks us as followers of Jesus. Jesus himself said, "By this will you know that you are my disciples, if you" what? Love one another. Not if you have the right theology, not if you're wearing the right clothes, not if you're listening to the right music, not if you're reading the right version of the Bible, not if you can articulate the doctrine of the Trinity correctly, but if you have love. Maybe it's time we started taking our own scriptures seriously about what actually matters most. Maybe it is time that, like Paul said, we let love be the greatest.